a Sapphire Running Zone podcast.
Hi everyone, Tim from the Sapphire Running Zone, and welcome to another in our series of training support podcasts. And today we are looking at Expos. Now, if you've never been to one before, you're in for an absolute treat. These are generally held by the much bigger events where you get to pick up your race number and your timing chips. Some of the smaller events do have them, like Big Sur Marathon in California, which is only a 6,000-7,000 runner event, but they have one. But generally it's the big boys, it's the Londons, the New Yorks, the Paris, those kind of events, and they are not to be missed. But this guide is about making sure you enjoy your expo and have a positive experience, as opposed to it being a little bit of a negative, which it can be for some people. So welcome to Expo Essentials. So first of all, you need to know exactly when your expo is open. That might sound glaringly obvious, but you'd be amazed at how many people every year turn up to expos all over the world, either too early, which isn't really that big a deal, or too late, and that is an absolute big deal, because generally speaking, these events, once the expo's closed, it's closed. You then don't run. So I've been to the London Expo, I don't know, 15, 20 times and exhibited there many times. And every year you can be guaranteed that the doors closed at 5, 1 minute past 5, there'd be people knocking on the door trying to get in. Didn't happen. Those people miss their race. So whatever you do, do not be late, whether it be because there's bad traffic or there's a problem with the trains, not the organiser's problem. You've had, in that case, 4 days to get there. You just got to make sure you're there. There is no sympathy when it comes to late arrivals. So please, whatever you do, do not be late. Now, these expos can be very, very, very busy. And with London, obviously, opens on a Wednesday, much quieter on the Wednesday. A little bit of a burst in the morning when it first opens, bit of a novelty to get to be one of the first in. But generally speaking, it does get a lot quieter then in the afternoon. Thursday again, Friday it picks up a bit, and Saturday it's manic. And that's the trend that you'll see across all of these shows. Primarily, of course, because if you're local, you can go when you feel like it. If you're not local, if you're travelling any distance into London, for example, then you are more than likely going to be there on a Saturday, and more than likely again to be there on a Saturday afternoon. So that period in the afternoon on any of those expos, anywhere around the world, Saturday afternoon, if it's a Sunday race, Boston's obviously on a Monday, so different because their Sunday is then busy. It's basically chaos. So do whatever you can to avoid that rush. Now, maybe you are going to have no choice, but you just need to get there and be conditioned and prepared for what's coming, because it is going to be very, very, very busy. Okay, but all part of the experience, and that's the way you've got to look at it. Next point. Remember to bring those registration documents. You will have either had, depending on the race, you will have had something in the mail or an email with a registration document of sorts, and you have to then bring that to the expo with proof of ID. It's a great process. When you walk into whatever expo, chances are the first thing you'll see is this bank of people who have got race numbers, and they will take, and it's basically organized in race number order. So it will be numbers 1 to 500, 501 to 1,000, that kind of thing. You present your registration slip, and they will then dig out your number from their batch of 500, whatever it is, and hand over your number. But they want proof, so you have to show some form of proof. There are occasions where you are allowed to pick up for other people if they can't make it to the expo. Not all events do this. The majority do, and sometimes there's a limit. You might only be able to pick up 1 or potentially 2 race bibs for other people, but you won't be picking anything up at all if you don't have registration slips, and that's not only for yourself, but for the people you're picking up. So for those people, you'll need a letter, signed letter, and their registration slip. But you have to check this with whatever event it is that you're going to, because they are all slightly different, often slightly different. But if you go to your race and you do not have your registration documentation and your ID, no race number. Now, where you are running on a charity entry, that process can sometimes be a little bit different. There may be an area specifically for charity registrations where you pick up your race bib. In the case of London, it's not. In the case of London, you'll just be in with everybody else. So irrespective of whether you've got a charity entry or not, you will just go and collect your race bib along with everybody else. But make sure you have that documentation. Next point, once you've got it, of course, you've got to cling on to it. Do not let it out of your sight. Now, the bigger the race, the more gear you're going to pick up at the number area. So when you get your number, in some cases you'll get your number in the chip in the same bag. In other cases you'll get your number and then move through and get a chip from somewhere else and they will test the chip. Okay, it just depends on which expo we're looking at here. So whatever happens, you will come away from that bib chip area with lots of stuff. Okay, and at this point you may have got sponsor goodies as well in there. You may not, that might come later. But whatever happens, when you come out of that first area, you are going to be, you're going to have a bag or two of stuff. So make sure that that stuff stays with you all the way through that show, back to your hotel, back to your house, wherever. Do not lose it, because it is very, very, very difficult to then go and get a replacement set of gear. Now, I've seen it over the years, London, many, many times, people just leaving their bag of goodies, either where they've stopped for a coffee or where they've been in one of the merchandise areas trying on a pair of shoes or whatever it is, and there's a bag and it contains that person's chip and their bib. Now, you can often, hopefully honest people will pick it up and take it back to the area where it was issued, and all will be good. That person will come back for it and it will be there. It doesn't always happen, but on the vast number of cases it does. But just make sure you're not one of those. I hate to imagine how many do that every year at every show. There will be a lot, but don't let that be you, because that's not the kind of stress that you need the day before, potentially, or 2 or 3 days before your big event. Okay, so be super careful with that. Now, when you walk in, the chances are you'll get off a train more than likely, or you'll walk to your expo, depending on where it is. Most of them are held in big exhibition centres, sometimes in the middle of town, sometimes out a little bit. Excel is the home of the London Marathon exhibition Expo, and it has been for many, many years. And that is a DLR trip. Some people get dropped off, some people get a cab, but most people will arrive on the train. And it is quite overwhelming, because you think you're going to be the only one going there. But when you get on that train, you realise that pretty much everyone on that train is going to that expo. And when you get off the train, you all get off together and you're all walking up to the expo entrance. It then is when it dawns on you, oh my goodness, this is enormous. You've been training on your own for months. You might have been in a little running group, a few of you, but when you get into that expo hall, and Excel is different again, because there's multiple exhibition halls. Multiple shows may well be going on at the same time. I've been there where there's been 4 or 5 different exhibitions going on. It's vast. And when you go into your London Marathon show, my goodness, it takes some serious getting used to. This is your first time. That moment where you walk in is quite something. So once you've been through, you've got your number, you've got your chip, then you'll go out into the main area where all the merchandise areas, all the brands who have paid for their advertising, for their stand space, all the charities. There could well be 50 or 60 different charities there with a stand. It's huge and it's amazing and you should enjoy it, but don't be overawed by it. It can be potentially quite intimidating. Don't let it, just absorb it and enjoy it, because it is just quite something. It really is. Now, there's so much to see and do at these shows. One of the areas you need to look at is go and have a listen to the talks from the experts. So there will sometimes be elite athletes there who will be talking about their marathon preparation. That's always quite an interesting listen, because obviously they do things slightly different to the rest of us. There will be presentations from people about the logistics, about how to get to the start, all that kind of stuff. There will be some coaching discussions, so what to do in the last few hours before the race starts, all that kind of stuff. So these are on a rotation basis. So there might be 5 different speakers, and they might do their same talk half a dozen times through the day. Often it's in areas where there's some tea and coffee facilities. So I would just grab yourself a cup of tea, coffee, and just sit there for a bit and just chill out and listen to what's going on. It can, on occasions, depending on where it is and what the sound's like, it can be a bit of background noise sometimes, but I always find it really interesting. You just never know what little nugget you're going to pick up. So I would definitely make some time. And like I said, it's all part of that whole race experience. It's very much worth it. Another area that's quite common in expos is sort of an area looking at the history of the event. Dublin Marathon do this well. The last time I was there, they had a little area which talked through the development of the race, what's happened over the years, pictures of races of sort of 20 years ago. Fascinating to go into those areas and have a good look. Honolulu Marathon a couple of years ago had a fantastic display of race finisher T-shirts going back pretty much to the start of that event. Now, that's many years old. And it was just amazing to see all these shirts beautifully lined up, pretty much from the first event. Big area, people were able to take their time walking up and down this display of shirts. And it really was beautifully done. And it just gave you a sense of history and it gave you a sense of perspective, really. So most of them do this, and I would really spend a good amount of time looking at that. It just puts it in context, and it sort of positions you where you are in the journey of this race. It's really well worth spending the time. Now, if you're running for charity, it's always a good idea if your charity has a stand at your expo, London being probably the biggest event for charity support at expos. There's always a few at New York and Boston and Chicago, Berlin, there'll be a couple. But with somewhere like London, there'll be a big charity presence. It can often be the bigger ones who can afford to take a space, because they do have to pay to be there. So if you're running for one of the bigger charities and you know they're going to be there, please do go and see them. It's great for them because it's a long 4 days at that show for the fundraising teams that are there on behalf of the charity. So spend some time, go over and say hello. They do a fantastic job. And it's just great to put a face to a name. These guys have probably been liaising with you for a few months, and it's just great to catch up with them, thank them for all their support. They often have things like a wall where you can write a message on the wall with messages of thanks and support, and other people can come and put their thoughts on it. It's a great way of doing it. And quite often they will have some goodies there that you can take away. So they might have things like caps, They might have little flags that your friends and family can wave on race day. They often have different things, and different countries there will be different gear. But I would absolutely spend a bit of time going to the charities and just thanking them for all their support over what will have been an interesting few months for everybody. I think one of the absolute key areas is, you've listened to your experts, you've seen your charity. It's very, very tempting to go and check out the merchandise that's available. Not only the official race gear, which is always great to have, particularly if you're running an overseas event and you want some souvenirs. It's just great to have a look also at some of the discounts that were available on running shoes, t-shirts, socks, etc. And these can be quite significant. A lot of the running, there could be 2 or 3 different running shops there that have running shoes available, maybe last season's, and they could have some decent discounts. Whatever you do not be tempted to buy anything for race day. Okay, I have been in that boat and I have paid the price. So one year I did the Hong Kong Marathon, and I had a new pair of shorts the day before. I hadn't done a huge amount of events in those days, and I bought a new pair of shorts. Unfortunately, when I finished the race, they weren't white anymore. They were bright red. The chafing was of another level. So please do not be tempted to buy anything new for your race. Okay. Nothing at all, not even a pair of socks. You might think it's harmless enough, but I cannot begin to tell you the amount of pain that I was in that day, and I made sure I never even thought about it again. But there are some great deals, and hopefully you'll be coming back and doing another event fairly soon after. So why not get yourself some goodies for that next event? Remember that when you're running in anything before a big race, you should be making sure it's been worn a few times, washed a few times, and that includes any charity vests or t-shirts that you might have been offered to run in. Again, don't be tempted if a charity says, "Oh, you haven't got your shirt for race day yet, have you? Here's your shirt." Well, risky, very risky. If it's on the Wednesday and you can wear it a few times and get it washed a couple of times, not too bad. But again, I wouldn't particularly recommend it. You need to make sure your stuff is relatively well worn in. Same goes with a pair of shoes, for example. Your shoes ideally would have 100 to 200 miles in them, really. The last thing you want to be doing is buying anything at the show to wear. And socks, it's just so common to see people buying socks for the next day. Just avoid it at all costs. Okay, please. Right, so you've seen your charity, you've got some gear for the following event that you're going to do. You have looked at the history, you've listened to your experts. How long have you been there? What's really important with these shows is that you remember that you need to be taking the weight off your feet. So I have no issue at all if you spend 3-4 hours at an exhibition like this. Fantastic. But make sure you're not walking around the whole time, making sure that you are. If you're going to see the experts, then sit down and listen to them. Just make sure you're not on your feet for the whole duration that you're there. What'll happen generally is that people who've not done one of these before will spend much longer there than someone who's done multiple exhibitions, who's been to loads of races. They tend to go in and out as quick as they possibly can, get the race number, and then look for the exit. And that's understandable. If it's your first time or second time, you will want to absorb it, particularly if it's your first London or your first New York or your first Boston. You will want to spend a bit of time. So when I did Big Sur last year, it was only a small expo, but I wanted to see it and I wanted to understand how it all works. So I spent a bit of time there, but I didn't stay on my feet the whole time. So it's really, really important that if you're going to spend time there, quite a long time, take the weight off your feet. Enjoy it and try and absorb as much as you can while you're sitting down or with the weight off your feet, one way or the other. Just don't be spent, particularly if you're there on the Saturday and it's heaving busy and you're there for 3 or 4 hours walking around. That is not going to be the best thing for you. So they are an amazing experience, Expos. They are the first time that you will have seen the scale of what you're going to be doing. Okay. They are a really great experience, particularly if you can follow these essentials. So follow these guidelines, get it right, and you will look back on that as a 3 or 4 hours that was not life-changing exactly, but an essential part of your race experience, particularly if you're new to the running game, you're new to the big event game. There's nothing like it, because it's almost, you do your training, you go to the expo, you do your race, and then you have your post-race celebration. It's one of those stages, and you should enjoy everything about it. But please don't stay on your feet too long, and please do not buy any kit that you are going to wear on race day. Okay, no kit for race day. Keep hold of your bib and your chip at all times. Don't let it out of your sight. Go and see your charity, listen to the experts, and try and go and see the history area if there is one. Say hello to your charity. They're really, really important that you just take in every aspect that's there and say thank you to people. Say thank you to the volunteers. Most of the people working there will be volunteers, not the guys who are manning the merchandise, etc., but the people that are giving you, the people when you come in who direct you to certain areas, the people that are giving you your race number and your chips, they're all volunteers. Say hello to these guys when you go in, and say thank you when you get your gear, because they are an absolutely essential part of this whole race experience, and they make it what it is. And there's nothing better for them than getting a bit of thanks from the people that they're helping. So have a brilliant time, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks for listening to this Sapphire Running Zone podcast. Keep checking back, as we have lots more podcasts coming soon.